Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave. This is where we talk to you. We call it the Fan Cave because you make the call at 412-575-2600. Call, air your opinions tonight on a variety of sports. This has been a busy week. I'm Bob Pompeani with you until 11 o'clock. So if you're listening on the television, on the radio, driving around on 93.7 The Fan, give us a call. You can also hit us up on Twitter. It's at KDPomp. We'll begin with, of course, the Pirates and what was a terrible weekend after a wonderful six-game stretch. How can you do both in the same week? You talk about an historic week. For the first time ever, you saw 43-4, a six-game dominance at home where they outscored, and that hitting came to life in a ridiculous manner, only to go out west and then go scoreless in Seattle. So they shut out the Cardinals in 3 straight games, and then they are shut out in 3 straight games. Never before has that happened. More on that coming up. But the Pirates have a lot of issues going on with their offense, and that 6-game skid or streak was probably born of the fact it's just a long season, 162 games. When you do that, you're going to have, no matter how bad you are, you're going to have good streaks. The Marlins just won 9 out of 10. They're not that good, and they reverted back, and the Pirates have done that again today. And then you saw the Mets, who were riding high on top of their division, go 3-13 and allow the Phillies to jump them. So in a long season, there are going to be ups and there are going to be downs, and in this case, more downs than ups. And this offense continues to be a problem. When you get well-pitched games, I mean, look at this, 1-0, 1-0. They get shut out. Their starting pitching their pitching in general has given up 12 runs in the last 9 games. That's it. They should win just about every game. And instead, they're not doing that. So we knew that coming into the season. It continues at this point of the season, and it likely will continue until they do something about it, which is who knows when that happens. It has to be in free agency if you're going to do this next year. You have a pretty good pitching staff. Bob Nutting, I think most people will implore you to open up your wallet and spend some money and bring in some bats if you can't develop them. And so far, they haven't been able to do that. Having said that, they have a star in the making in Connor Griffin. He's moving up pretty fast through the ranks. Greensboro Grasshoppers, after he spent time in single A, low A, now up to high A. And how long will it take before he gets to Altoona, Indy, and then here? Hopefully fast tracking. We've seen a lot of guys who are in their 20s come up here quickly. Maybe he's going to be one of those guys. They need all the help they can get. Then you have the trade deadline coming up on July 31st. That's at the end of this month. It'll be here before you know it. What do? Ben Cherington, who is certainly on a hot seat right now, whether his job will go on after the season or not, he may be out to try to preserve his job by making a big deal of some sort, but it could backfire as well. So I'm just going to be curious what they do. But they need help hitting beyond this season. This season's lost. The offseason will be something we watch very closely. 412-575-2600 is the number to call. Also, this has been a busy week for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Just to recap it, Minkah Fitzpatrick traded. Not many people saw that coming. This will be a big topping point tonight on the #1 Cochrane Sports Showdown. Ray Fittipaldo of the Post-Gazette will join me, as well as Will Graves of the Associated Press and Chris Muller up at the Fan. We have a lot to get into there, but nobody saw that happening, especially to the degree it did, with Jalen Ramsey being involved and also Jonnu Smith. Now, you heard both of those names separately over the last couple of weeks being mentioned, possibly tied to Pittsburgh. But I think most people thought if you're going to get Ramsey, maybe you'll trade, and give up a 3rd-round pick or one of the many picks they have next year to get him. That wasn't the case at all. It was basically Ramsey for Minkah with a throw-in of Jonnu Smith, and I like that guy. I think he's going to be a good tight end on this team. Actually, sort of a de facto wide receiver in many ways, too. 88 catches, 8 touchdowns last year, over 800 yards. That's the numbers of a wide receiver, not so much a tight end. And he should complement Pat Freiermuth and also the other guys. I think Calvin Austin has proven that he's on a fast track moving forward. And who knows about Roman Wilson? Hopefully he'll have an opportunity to do some good here as well. 412-575-2600, that is the number to call. We'll talk about what you think the Pirates should do at the trade deadline. Also, the Steelers, in addition to making that trade, they signed Omar Khan to a 3-year contract extension. And so now Omar's biggest job, obviously, is to, look ahead to finding the franchise quarterback beyond this season. Next year, they're going to have plenty of opportunity to move up in the draft. They've stockpiled so many picks. They should be a team that you would look at, especially because that draft is in Pittsburgh, where it's going to be largely viewed with so many people coming into town and what a scene it'll be. But that's going to be Pittsburgh on center stage, no question about it. So they got to come up with that, and they got to figure out to get into the playoffs and win playoff games. It hasn't happened since 2016. That streak needs to end, and those are going to be the points over the next couple of years that people will be watching for the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, I want to talk to you about that, and also the Savannah Bananas are coming to Pittsburgh at the end of this month, or no, August, I think it is, the end of August. They are a hot property. 60 Minutes did a big story on them, and they're a team or an entertainment, whatever you want to look at them as, that are just reaching to all levels, all demographics, whether you're an older person, a younger person, in the between, if you're a baseball fan, even if you're not a baseball fan. They do so many things that make it interesting, and they're going to sell out PNC Park twice at the end of August, and the Pirates won't largely probably do that the rest of the year. So we want to hear from you on all those topics and more. 412-575-2600. That's the number. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call on a Sunday night in Pittsburgh. Call. Love to hear from you right here on KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan. Tonight's Xfinity tweet of the night comes from Opta Sports. Pirates shut out in all 3 games of their series against the Mariners after shutting out the Cardinals in all 3 of their games in the previous series. Their first team in Major League Baseball history to have back-to-back series of 3+ games with a sweep of shutouts, for and against in either order. So the Pirates have made a lot of interesting historic notes this year. Some good, some bad. This is not a good one. Also, we should point out that Paul Skeens had 78 pitches today. I was disappointed he only went 5 innings. Now, I'm sure Donnie Kelly and the team is looking at his innings pitched over the course of the entire season and trying to keep that in mind, but this was not the day to do that, in my opinion. This was the day to ride him a little bit. 78 pitches, he could have gone at least 1 more. 10 strikeouts, they weren't hitting him after that first inning. I would have liked to have kept him in there longer, and it just so happens Majewski comes in there and gives up a home run. One tweet before we go, and again, you can hit us up on Twitter at KDPomp. Ryan Zedek says, with Major League Baseball draft just a week away, who and what position will the Pirates target with the 6th overall pick? Well, hopefully it's a bat. I don't know, and I'll certainly be honest with you, Ryan. I'm not sure of all the big names and what they're capable or not capable of doing, but I would be in the market for a lot of bats. Not that it will help next year. Maybe somebody will, but I think they need to start supplying their system with bats. They got arms, and they can also wheel and deal and do those kinds of things as well. 412-575-2600. Our first caller tonight is Chris in the newsroom. Would this be Chris Hoffman, the anchor of the newscast that just went off the air? Hello, Chris.
That may or may not. Hello, Bob. That may or may not be the case. But want to ask you, why every time as Paul Skeens out there, they cannot score any sort of runs? And what can they even do the rest of the way to at least get this guy some wins and run support?
You know it as well as I do, Chris. It's just they don't play small ball, big ball, any ball at this point offensively. When you score as infrequently as they do, this is what happens. Not just Paul Skeens, by the way. If you look at Mitch Keller's record this year, should be much better than what it is based on what he is. And if you look at Bailey Falter at times, he's been victimized by lack of run support. This pitching staff deserved better. And quite frankly, with just an average offense, they would be right there in the mix for a wild card, maybe even division. That's how good their pitching has been. So that's going to be the strength moving forward. They could use that strength as a surplus and potentially deal somebody to get some bats at the trade deadline, or they can spend money in the offseason, which is a quick way to fix some things while keeping your pitching staff intact. But I'd like to ask those of you out there at 412-575-2600, who makes most sense for the Pirates to trade? Would it be Mitch Keller, who still has 3 years left on a contract, which makes it attractive to Pittsburgh, but it should make it attractive to other teams as well, because it's a very franchise-friendly price? Or Brian Reynolds, he's got 5 years left on a deal. The only reason I'm bringing him up, even though he's a bigger part of their offense than just about anyone else, is because he has 5 years left on a contract. Some team may want that in an outfielder, although he's, by the time 5 years rolls around, who knows what he's going to be like. Could be a DH eventually, but bottom line is they have some people they can deal. I'd like to, not just the guys who are on expiring contracts. Largely, they don't give you a lot in return. You'll get something, but not guys who are going to be difference makers. I want to see difference makers come here in one of these trades if they're going to make one. Let's go out to Paul in Deep Creek. Hello, Paul. How are you doing down there in a beautiful area of this world?
Yes. Hey, Bob, this question's for you. I'm a Guardians fan, okay? And I wanted to ask you, the Ortiz thing where he got suspended this week, can you explain that to me on 2 pitches, how they can suspend this man? He's having a really good year in Cleveland. Can you explain that to me?
Well, apparently they had a prop bet on first pitch ball or strike. I mean, you could bet on just about everything these days. In fact, I was talking on a couple of guys tonight about betting on the hot dog eating contest and taking the under on Joey Chestnut's 70.5 hot dog consumption. He did go under by a half. But, yeah, I mean, apparently they had evidence to suggest that the first ball in those games was bet up heavily to be a ball, and he threw him in the dirt. And I guess that's the evidence they're using. Plus, they obviously have some emails and who knows what else they have behind the scenes that they're using. Obviously, he's in trouble right now, and it may get worse. So you may not see him the rest of the year. And he's a good pitcher when in there, and certainly Spencer Horwitz is a guy, that the Pirates will take now, knowing that Luis Ortiz is in that situation. Another tweet from Bob Tamara, who says, "Can we stop talking, Bob, about how good Cruz is? His defense is okay, but is 2 points above the Mendoza line." Well, you're right about his hitting. It's been erratic. He's got too much talent, though, and I'm not going to give up on him yet. I'm just not. I think he's getting better in center field when he's engaged. That's an if, because he hasn't been engaged a lot. Running out. I mean, ever since Don Kelly has benched him in the game, he's been much better. I think you'd agree with that. So hopefully that'll continue, but what has to really continue is his offense. You can't have these streaks and that's it. And when he goes south, he's really in tough situation. Been dropped out of the leadoff spot recently because of that. I still think he has too much talent. I don't want to overlook guys who have 5-tool talent. I think he's one of those guys to have that. All right, back to the lines. We got Joe in Moon Township. Joe joins us right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Go ahead, Joe.
Hey, Bob. Good morning. I just want to know, who is running the Pirate batting? You have 43 runs in 6 games, and we have 0 runs in 3 games.
Well, Matt Haig was brought in, and so far it's maybe worse than it was last year. So I'm of the belief, too, that sometimes you can have the best instruction, but you also have to have the best talent. If you don't have it, it's hard to turn guys who aren't as talented as others into productive hitters. Although I think league-wide, if you look at strictly batting averages, you're going to see that the league is down. Most of these guys who would have bigger numbers, with the exception of Aaron Judge. I'll leave him out of this because he's batting at a ridiculous rate. But I would have to say, now that's a good question, by the way, with Aaron Judge. Given what he's doing, and then you see Cal Raleigh, what he's doing in Seattle, who would be your MVP right now? Most people believe it's going to be Judge, but I'd have to make a case for Cal Raleigh, what he's been doing with Seattle. We saw that on display this weekend with 2 big home runs in that first game. So, they need to get better hitting. However they do it, whether it's Haig's fault, whether it's, minor league instruction, whatever the case, they're just not developing. And you can look at a lot of different ways. Are they drafting the right people, or are they not developing the people they have who are good people? I don't know. All I know is it's not working, and it's been consistent over the last several years. 412-575-2600 is the number to call. We'll take a break, come back with more phone calls right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.